All right. So, welcome everybody to building an effective go-to-market plan. So, in our webinar today, Kenny and I will have an opportunity to introduce ourselves a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about the webinar, what to expect as we go forward, and before too long, we're going to start digging into it. And we can't wait for your engagement throughout. We'll talk about ways that you can do that, and what to expect ahead. But with me, I'm Ryan Cantwell, principal consultant and trainer at Productside. I am based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'm always excited to get opportunities like this one to get to interact with great people like you.
Welcome, Ryan. Yeah, and I'm Kenny Kranseler, also a principal consultant at Productside. It lists me here as in Seattle, which I usually am in Seattle, but for the winter, I decided to get warm a little bit and avoid the rain. So I'm down in Palm Springs. So there we are.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Kenny. So, for those of you maybe unfamiliar or new to Productside, I just want to give ourselves a little bit of an introduction as an organization. We pride ourselves on being an outcome-driven partner for all of our clients, our community at large, and those that we serve. And it's our goal to empower product teams all over the world to build products that people buy and love. And outcomes are a big thing for us. We want to drive those outcomes by providing things like change and transformational services. We want to make sure that you achieve your goals. We tailor our solutions to help those objectives be met in the most efficient ways possible. And we pride ourselves on being deeply ingrained in the product community, a team of experts that can certainly help you achieve the things that you want to achieve, both as an individual and as an organization. So we're here to help teams thrive. That's what we're all about, and contribute back to the product community. And we couldn't be happier to have all of you share in this great topic we have with us today. So as we go through, I want to encourage everybody to please ask questions. Kenny and I are both informal people, and you don't have to save your questions to the end. Please do use the QA function that's available in Zoom. If you're not familiar for where that is, find your Zoom window, and at the bottom you'll see the Q&A option. So you can go ahead and submit your questions there. I'll be monitoring that throughout the presentation, and we'll address those in real time. So please do leverage that. And a question we always get is, can I watch the webinar later? And the answer is absolutely yes. So we will make the recording available to you as soon as this is done. So you will receive that message from us and know that you can access this webinar whenever you'd like.
And you can share it with others who may not have been able to attend the webinar either. So feel
Great
free.
tip. Look at that. Yes, all of our past webinars, pro tip, are available on our website as YouTube videos. So please do check us out. So we do also want to encourage everybody here to join our community. Please do connect with us on LinkedIn. That is a place where we get to share lots of great thought leadership pieces, whether it's an article, a blog post, a webinar like this one, or some of the other cool stuff that we have going on, where you not only get to hear from us, but you get to engage with others in the community. So you get to become part of thought leadership for product management and talk to others, sharing your experiences and knowledge all around. So please do connect with us there, and that gives you an outlet in many, many different ways. All right, and with this, I'm going to turn it over to Kenny, who will be your main presenter today, to give us an overview of what to expect.
Great. Thank you so much, Ryan. Yeah, and I'm excited to present an always popular topic to you all about go-to-market and how to plan, administer, and go through go-to-market. And I'll do that basically. I walk them through. I'll start with a tale of two different go-to-market scenarios to give you some understanding of when it's successful, when it's not successful, and then we'll go through. We'll start to define what is go-to-market, and then we'll use that to layer into how do I start to build a go-to-market strategy? What does the go-to-market strategy look like? We'll follow that through to how do I then plan it out and start to execute it. And we'll end the session with a little summary wrap up. And as Ryan mentioned, a little bit of Q&A for those people that topics I may not have covered that might still be of interest to you all. All right, so let's start with that tale of two go-to-market scenarios, right? Let's start with the first one. Imagine you're the person on the left Unfortunately, you're a product manager for a software and service companies. You've developed what you think is a cutting edge product that you hope and promise to revolutionize data management in the marketplace. It's sleek, it's innovative, it's ready to disrupt the market, or so you think. Okay, let's go forward to launch day, and the product's about to hit the market. Excitement's in the air, the team's buzzing, the platform goes live. But instead of a flood of new customers, what do you get? Crickets. Few sales trickle in, but your high hopes of dominating the market seem like some distant dream. You realize probably a little too late that your product, well, it wasn't quite as market ready as you believed. You discovered a few bugs just within hours of launching the product. The pricing, it's a little too high for small businesses to want to jump into the platform, but a little too low for enterprise customers to take it seriously. Marketing team, they missed the mark on the customer pain points. You've got regional and global product managers scrambling, each pointing fingers at each other for different failures. You launched based on your assumptions, not your customers' needs. And now your biggest fear is your product will be forgotten before it ever had a chance to succeed. All right, now let's look at another go-to-market scenario. Let's call it the Nimbus platform. In this one, before even a line of code was written for the platform, the team invested heavily in customer research. They figured out who their target customer market was. They understood some of the pain points of those customers. What keeps them up at night? What drives their buying decisions? They aligned their product to fit these real and unmet needs. They rigorously tested the product with a pilot group of customers. They refined the features based on the feedback, ensuring it wasn't just market ready, but market created. Pricing? It looked perfect because it was informed by the customer insights, not just a bunch of guesswork. The teams, they were aligned, communicating seamlessly, and everyone from engineering to marketing were pulling in the same direction, understanding what the benefits were for the customer. On launch day, Nimbus platform, it didn't just enter the market, it started to dominate that market. Customers loved it. Social media buzzed with excitement. Sales started to skyrocket. They did note a slight issue right after the launch. Customers needed a little bit more hand-holding to get engaged with the platform they found. So the team quickly, they pulled together the right materials, sales were back on track. What once seemed like a risky, unproven idea now had product market fit. Investors were lining up to help Nimbus platform scale. Moral of the story, right? The path to success, it isn't just a matter of luck. A well-executed go-to-market platform that includes careful strategy, planning, execution, and iteration. Stick with me a bit, and I'll try to demystify some of the go-to-market activities and how you can use them to achieve better in-market success. All right, before I go there, before I start to talk about how I'll reach the second go-to-market scenario, not the first one, let's do a poll to understand where y'all are coming from. So answer one of the following on how your experience to date with go-to-market has been. We'll pause for a few seconds for people to answer.
Yeah, this is always interesting to see where the group lies.
How are we doing? Let's see. We've got about 35 people so far. We'll give another 3 or 4 seconds for people to snap on one of the questions.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's share the poll. So we'll end it, share the results. There we go. Well, it looks like people we don't see a lot of people consistent success with proven process in place yet. Some people are mostly successful, not too many, about 1 out of every 6 or 7 of the folks here, but a lot are in this sort of hit or miss, depending on a variety of factors, and a decent number are challenged and looking for ways to improve. So that's good. So
Yeah, Kenny, I think we do what this tells me.
yeah.
Go-to-market can go wrong in many different ways.
There's a lot between where you are and
Yeah,
potential success, right? So
absolutely.
thank you. There's a good reason you all are here, which is good. So we will get to the right place. All right, so let's start getting us toward that second scenario in the Nimbus platform by first defining what the heck is go-to-market, right? What do it mean when I say that? Well, what go-to-market means to me is really a journey. It's not a one-time event. That's important because it helps you start to think beyond just the short-term excitement of that launch, and start to focus on sustained success of your product, right? It's really about continuously reaching and staying connected to your customers. Make sure your product remains relevant, continues to meet customers' needs as those evolve, right? And the key thing is effective go-to-market starts to align the entire organization around a shared vision for scaling success with that product, right? Avoid silos. Make sure every team is contributing to growth in a coordinated way, right? So a couple of things to think about, right? How often do you think about go-to-market beyond just the launch day, right? And how can you as a leader start to align your teams to keep that journey moving smoothly? All right, so let's
Uh,
start. Yep,
Kenny, I like
Ryan.
thinking about it not just as an activity that is done, like a thing to do, but it's much more than that. And I know you're going to talk about it as we go along.
Yeah, it's a process, right? It's
Yeah.
it's something that should be on your mind and iteratively along the way. All right, let's get down into brass tacks, right? Um, on what go-to-market is, right? As you mentioned, it's a multifaceted strategy, not just a single plan, but a comprehensive strategy encompassing product launch, customer acquisition, market positioning, right? It's really how we align the resources and the tactics we have leveraging those resources to make sure we're achieving market acceptance while minimizing success, right? Really serves as the roadmap guiding every step from product development to market entry to sustained market success, right? And we need to start to connect that strategy with action, right? We'll have a set of actionable plans that focus on execution, be it targeting the right customer, developing and refining positioning and messaging, evolving those messages based on customer reaction, and some of the in-market metrics that we have out there, right? It includes aligning your sales, marketing, product teams to make sure there's a cohesive approach that turns strategy into tangible results, right? And a key element of go-to-market strategy is this notion of iterative testing. Testing our market segments, testing our messaging, testing product features before we fully commit to some of those, right? By continuously testing, we can start to refine our approach, validate assumptions, and hopefully reduce the risk of failure. So let's look at how some of these pieces of go-to-market start to mesh, right? Starts with this high level of strategy. Here we're defining the long-term vision, the objectives, and the opportunities within our chosen target market. Strategy doesn't change a lot, right? Once we set it down and figure out what we want to do, it's fairly stable. We don't change it infrequently. And what we're doing here is we're starting to understand the why, the rationale behind the product's existence, and the goals it's trying to achieve within for the company and for the customers that we have out there. Then we get down to the notion of planning, right? This is where we're starting to turn that strategy into a set of midterm actionable plans, initiatives, things like that. These are more adaptable, right? They can be adjusted as necessary to make sure we keep alignment with our internal and external changes, be in the market or be our company priorities, right? Here's where we start defining the who will be involved, and the what will be done to start to achieve the goals that we outlined in the strategy, right? And then we finally get down to execution, where we start to focus on some of the short-term actions and some of the coordinated efforts to achieve some of those objectives we talked about and start to deliver some results. These tend to be highly flexible, allow for real-time adjustments based on metrics and data we get back, right? They're answering now at this point the how and the when of starting to implement this strategy and start to plan to meet the goals effectively of getting our product success, right? So here, we've got sort of three pillars that drive a successful go-to-market, a successful product and go-to-market, right? That go-to-market is where these start to come together to make sure your product not only enters the market, but does so in a way that resonates with your customers and starts to achieve some of the business goals you set out there.
Yeah, and continues to do so, right?
Let's hope, right? Right.
Yeah.
Again, it's more than just a launch. All right. So how do we start to put this all into practice, right? So let's talk a little bit about that first pillar of go-to-market strategy, right? Your go-to-market strategy should start even before you've defined your solution, right? When I spent some time at Amazon, and before we even created the product and wrote a line of code, we actually had to write the press release. So we knew what And that press release included, what are the outcomes? What are the measurable business results that I'm trying to get from a company perspective, and the customer results? What's the customer going to say about that product, and what are they going to do about it? Right. So before we worry about the constraints of deadlines, we're ensuring that we're enabling our teams to deliver results. Right. We can still change and adapt, but we know what the long-term goals are. Right. So that go-to-market strategy starts to prepare you to increase the probabilities of a successful launch in market by, focus on the impact, right? What are the results we want to deliver, right? Start to align the stakeholders behind that, right? And we don't, when we didn't just write the press release before we did it, but we took that to other folks at Amazon, got them to buy into it as well, right? Ensure that others are familiar and aware of your product strategy and how they can best support it, right? So that they align with it. And we can start to change the conversation, right? We're not just judging success on what you're delivering, but what's the true achievement for customers and for the business, right? And we keep those customers in focus, right? They don't really care. They don't care about if we release on time, right? They care about when it gets out there and care if the product has value to them. So start those pieces early. All right, so part of the first thing you need to understand is what market are you in and what's going on with that market to understand how I can take advantage of the opportunities that are out there, right? So part of what we think is either product or customer discovery is really where we start to define the roots for our go-to-market strategy. Again, we need to understand that macro environment that we're putting that product in. One tool for doing that is what's called PESTEL, which is basically an acronym that looks at identifying the external factors, be they political, economic, social, technological, or environmental and legal, that starts to impact your go-to-market strategy, start to provide that broader context for decision making, right? It allows us to look and identify some of the opportunities that may be out there or some of the risks, right? To enable us to start to tailor that go-to-market strategy to start to capitalize on any favorable conditions out there or potentially minimize the risk out there, right? Again, it might mean that we need to customize our strategy for different regions. Are there specific local regulations that we need to align to, cultural norms that are there, right? Key market trends to make sure that we're set for success in the market.
And Kenny, I've seen a lot of talk lately in certain places I visit about an early customer profile or the ideal customer
The ideal
profile.
customer, yeah.
Well, and I'm drawing a distinction between those two things. And I think by this early analysis and then early in the game with your go-to-market, understanding who is going to buy it first, who are
Yeah,
those early customers that we can start to gain traction with before we go to the ideal. And analyses like this one can start to lead us in that
yeah.
direction.
Who are the early customers, right? And it leads to sort of the next point I'm going to talk about, Ryan, right? You
Mhm.
need to start to figure out what market you're in and what are the segments within that market that you can address,
Yeah.
right? So we need to segment that market. Again, we're identifying unique groups of customers within that product market that maybe share traits, desires, preferences, right? A set of common traits that make them interesting or potentially less interesting to explore, right? Again, dividing that large market into a set of smaller categories based on shared characteristics. And it might be, as you mentioned, it might be the early customer is different than the ideal customer, right? And by understanding those, we can start to tailor the product and tailor our marketing efforts to specific customer needs or preferences, right? Again, those factors for segmentation can be things like demographics, psychographics, geographic location, or behavioral trends, right? Again, provide us an opportunity to identify and exploit new opportunities within the broader market, make sure we're optimizing our resource allocations. What's the right product for, and what's the right messaging for that early customer versus that ideal customer, and hopefully get to a point where we've got successful business performance and better advantage versus our customers. All right, so figure out what that market is, figure out what the segments are that are out there, and then identify those segments that we care about that are ideal for our product, right? look at which ones are high value opportunities for us. It allows us to tailor our product, to tailor our messaging to the most receptive audience, right? Again, it's about being intentional with resources and starting to align our go-to-market strategy with where we think we can win, right? Again, it's your first step towards the who of what we will target in that go-to-market strategy, right? People know about Venmo. Early on, they're basically a payment platform for paying lots of folks out there, right? Early on, they targeted millennials sharing expenses, things like splitting rent or dining bills. They targeted their product, they targeted their messaging, they targeted their offering at these millennials who had a preference for social interaction and convenience. They differentiated themselves in a crowded payments market and start to build loyalty with that target segment out there by focusing on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Kenny, I want to draw another definition here because I talk to a lot of people where they use the word market interchangeably with a geographic region.
Yeah.
And instead of, I think, how we're defining it here. Can you tell us the difference between geographic
Yeah,
region?
so a market is essentially a group of customers that are served by buyers and sellers, right? In a specific category or product, right? Um, Not necessarily a geography, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it could be a set of customers that might be willing to use your product in a certain scenario, right? So
Right.
broader viewpoint of that, right? If we'll use that Venmo example, right? They could have looked at it regionally, but what they looked at is different scenarios and use cases, right? So
Right.
the market is all people is a group of people who want to use a mobile payment platform to buy their purchases. Lots of segments within that. They chose the millennials.
Love it. Great.
Thank you for that, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so got your strategy set. You know who you started to identify your objectives, what you want to get done. You started to look at the needs and opportunities of that broader market, right? You selected those target segments that you want to focus on. Really started to understand the needs and the motivations of that target segment. The next step is is to start planning some of the go-to-market activities and when and how we'll execute on them to reach the target customers with appropriate and hopefully motivating messages. Right. And so there are three major things any go-to-market plan should include. First one is looking at the product and does it work the way customers need it to work to convey value to them, not just necessarily how it was designed. It's all about product readiness, right? Is your product ready to go to market, right? Second piece is, does the messaging and pricing match to communicate and support that value that the product delivers, right? This is all about market readiness. And the last piece is the notion of, is the company ready to sell, deliver, manage, and support that product? So it's organizational readiness. So you got to get all those pieces together before you think about bringing that product to market and launch it out there. And so as we think about those things, what does this notion of planning and execution process of a go-to-market look like, right? Well, you start by developing a clear market position, right? Ensure the position for your product for that target customer is well-defined. Know exactly how you want your target market to view your product and communicate what sets it apart from competitors. We'll dive into that in a little more detail in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And again, don't lose sight of the outcomes, right? Stay focused on the results you want to achieve. Align your execution with the desired outcomes rather than getting stuck in the weeds of the day-to-day tasks. You're going to have to do lots of communication. It's essential throughout the planning and execution process. Keep everyone, stakeholders, teams, leadership, fully informed to make sure that you avoid some of the misalignment and make sure there's smooth execution of the activities in your plan. And continue to regularly track your progress using data, right? It starts to help you understand where that strategy is working, what the goals are. Are we hitting some of the key early views of that, and start to make adjustments if they're not, right? And again, you're going to treat your plan as sort of an evolving process. Use the feedback, use the results that you're getting to continually refine and adjust that approach. Make sure you stay on course for your long-term objectives. All right, let's talk about that notion of positioning, sort of the start of your planning, your planning and execution phase. Again, positioning is not about what you do to your product and what your product is, but it's about shaping how your product is perceived in the minds of your customers, right? It forms the foundation for your messaging, and some of your differentiation in your go-to-market strategy. It's a valuable piece to start to work with your marketing team to make sure that there's agreement on that. It really has two components. One is the value proposition, or the promise of what your product delivers and the benefit it provides for your target customer. And secondly is this notion of differentiation, right? What makes your product unique and better compared to alternatives?
Hmm. Kenny, my favorite example of positioning I have ever seen in the world, if you remember the commercials from the early 2000s of I'm a Mac and I'm a PC, where you
Yeah.
had the Mac and PC, and it's so overt, where they are telling you what to think about when you consider the Mac and you consider the PC. They are they're building that perception very explicitly. No, typically, it is much more nuanced than that, but that's kind of what I like to say. We should aim for that. Like when
Yeah, they set
people,
it out, right? Of how you compare it, how you look at it versus the competition, right?
yeah.
How it's what's the differentiation, right? What the customer needs to think about that.
Exactly. Like, how should they think about us? Like, it's up to us to communicate and help build that perception for
Yeah.
them.
For sure. Right. And so what does that positioning look like? Right. What's the framework? How do I start to create it? Right. I like to use a formula from if anybody knows Jeffrey Moore, who wrote Crossing the Chasm. He created a template for a positioning statement that says, for my target customer who has some statement of need or opportunity or potential, my product lives within a category that delivers a potential key benefit, right? Or that is the compelling reason to purchase it, right? And then the second piece, as I said, unlike that competitive or substitute offering, know what it is, lay it out there, right? In the PC Mac, we knew what that was. Start to lay out how your product is different or better than that competitor, right? Um, so again, you're starting the positioning statement by defining your target customer persona, right? What problem your product solves, the product and its category, and the key benefit it provides. Again, set the foundation for conveying your product's value, right? Then you transition to that differentiation section where you identify, as I said, identify the primary competitive alternative and explain how your product is superior or differentiated from that offering. Again, highlights your unique advantage your product brings to that market, right? What is effective positioning is, right? How do I create effective positioning, right? Make sure that you create clear, distinctive, and meaningful benefits, not features, benefits, right? For that target customer, right? You're going to probably need to create a positioning statement for each of your target markets, right? Or personas that you create. But it has to align with your brand. It has to be something your brand can own, right? Um, and serve as a filter for customers making a brand or purchasing decision. It has to matter to them, right? Once you have it, make sure you share it broadly with sales, management, customer service, marketing, development teams. Make sure there's a good understanding of those pieces and how they come together, right? Um, all right. Second key component in your go-to-market strategy is this notion of the messaging platform. Which the positioning is an element too, but you want to build on it with the set of key messages that allow you to take that one step forward, right? And that messaging strategy really consists of two elements, right? One is a set of key messages, and the second is sort of the proof points for each key messages. They work together to make sure you're communicating the product's value effectively to your target audience. And just like positioning, the key messages and proof points should be defined for each target market and each persona that you're targeting with your offering, right?
Mhm.
So what are these key messages? Well, they start to build on your positioning statement by providing a deeper explanation of the product's value to the target customer persona. Again, you want to lay out basically somewhere between 3 and 5 key messages for each persona or target market. Highlight how the product benefits the customer. Again, you're focusing here on benefits, not features. One way to think about it is what's the so that, right? What's the so that of your product? Why the target customer cares about your offering? What can it do for them, right? On the right, we have a example that you've created an airport security mirror that passengers can stand in front of. And it tells whoever's standing in front of it what items they need to remove from their bodies to be ready to go through the security scanners, right? Instead of your messaging talking about the technical details of how a passenger gets scanned and works through the multiple level of materials that are involved in this mirror that make it wonderful, start to focus on some of the benefits of that scanning, right? You can have better prepared passengers, less stressed security officers, more serene and orderly security environments, right? Those are the kind of messages you want to have.
Yeah, I've found Kenny not only so that, but ability to statements work the same way. You can say ability to, and
Right.
that can help. And these benefit statements are so important, and it's tricky, and something I have done to myself where I will write them, and then I pause and I literally ask myself, so what? So what? If I
Who
were the
cares?
user, so what? Like, do
Right.
I care about
What does
this?
it do for me, right? What can I do as a
Yeah, does
result
it
thereof?
matter? So
Yeah.
kind of building that muscle is always important, not only related to go-to-market strategy, but anything you're doing with your product. We want to make sure we can communicate those benefits incredibly clearly to those people we're targeting.
Right. For sure. And then the second point, right, of your messaging platform is a set of proof points, right? So they're essential for validating the benefits stated in that key message, right? You need evidence to make rationale and convince customers that the product actually delivers on its promises, right? Typically, you have anywhere from 2 to 4 proof points for each key message that you create. These can be customer testimonials, unbiased test results, facts or statistics that you may have gathered in your testing and pre-launch of the product. It's even where you can start talking about those wonderful features that you may have created for your product, right? They're wonderful proof points for key messages, right? And ultimately, what you're doing here is you're building credibility, right? You can use the proof points to build trust behind your product, right? Presenting concrete evidence, you start to reinforce that key message, start to demonstrate the real value of your product to end customers. Now, as you're working through your go-to-market, don't forget outcomes. What are you trying to accomplish by bringing the product to market for your customers and for your business? And what's the path to get there? One of the things I use here is a thing called pirate metrics. What are pirate metrics and why are they called pirate metrics? Well, they're called pirate metrics because the acronym for them, AARRR, right? It kind of makes you sound like a pirate when you say it. But what they're really doing is measuring the path to gaining and securing some of the customers for your product, right? You want to get acquisition. What do I do? And are customers purchasing or acquiring the product initially? What do I need to do to get them there, right? But it's more than that, right? It's start to activation. Are customers using the product to the point that it's starting to achieve value for them, right? And once they achieve that value, are you retaining them, right? Are they continuing to use it on a continuous basis? Whatever that means for the cadence of your specific product, right? Do we have a way to monetize it? Are we actually getting money for this as they use our product and as we're starting to reach the goals we have around that? And do we have satisfied customers to the point that they start to tell others about the value of the product, right? And can we leverage it to start to get there, right? So yeah.
Now, Kenny, I just have a question. I'm thinking that maybe some of those here might be product managers for internal teams.
Mhm.
And I'm curious if these things that we're learning, particularly with the pirate metrics and some of the messaging stuff, still relates to internal teams.
They do, right? You
Yeah.
still have customers. Those internal teams are your customers, right? You still need to make sure you understand their needs and how you talk about your product and position your product relative to those users. And you can start to measure, right? Am I getting them in there? Are they, do they know about my product? Do they know about that offering, right? Are they starting to use it? Is it delivering value for them, right? Are they coming back and using it on a consistent basis and being happy with it, right? The one thing that might be difficult to measure is revenue, right? But hey, there's probably an objective, something you're trying to get done with that. It might be saving money, right? It might be
Hmm.
doing things more effectively or efficiently. Those can work as well. And are they telling others at the company that they really like using whatever you created for them? Right? So it works internally, it works externally. It does not
Yeah, that's great. I think that's such an important point because even in situations where we're product managers focusing on like B2B, B2C context, there's still things we do that are internally facing.
Yeah.
And being able to manage those efforts in this way to tell the stories, frankly, is important. And we can use
Yeah.
things like this to do it. And pirate metrics are so enabling because they're showing you the customer's journey. Like what is
Right. And you can
happening?
start to look at what are the opportunities within that. Where is it breaking down, right? I'm getting lots of customers that have signed up and started using it, but they're not quite activating it. They're stuck there, right? They're not getting
Yeah.
the value. What do I need to do to the product? What do I need to do from a communication standpoint to get them to start be activating and use it and start to get the value that I may have perceived for it?
Yeah, and I'm gonna be your the perfect transition, Kenny. When we talk about iteration, we're going to like use those sticking points that we find through this journey to say, well, how do we improve in that area? Let's do something different to try to smooth it.
Yeah, you're not done, right? So, once you start to set out that strategy and figure out what your go-to-market looks like, what are the tools, techniques, however you're communicating it, right? And start to measure success, we need to think about how you evolve over time, right? And the idea is let's not be so incremental and let's be more iterative, right? So incremental says we sort of add little small pieces until we get to the final product, right? Each edition can stand alone, but it doesn't really deliver a fully functional solution till the end. Whereas iterative, we start with a basic version and improve it through cycles, start to incorporate feedback, start to refine it to make sure we're delivering value, right? Again,
Mhm.
before I go to market, think in terms of iteration and incrementality, right? Iteration enables faster learning and adaptation. So before we wait until the whole plan is complete, we can start to test and refine some of the basics of it to start to reduce the risks and improve some of the outcomes we have out there.
Yeah, something
I,
that's helped me wrap my head around this, Kenny, particularly relative to go to market, is perhaps most of us, or if not all of us here, are familiar with the concept in product management of product market fit. We all heard, oh, we got to have product market fit. But breaking it down a little further into problem solution fit, like does that early customer profile have a problem they are willing to pay to solve for? And our early iterations can help uncover that. Like that's why we don't invest too much early. Then we can seek more true product market fit before we sustain it through go to market fit. So we've got these three stages of market fit, and our iteration is the only way for us to seek that on a continued basis.
what are the pieces out there, right? Start with that basic go-to-market plan, right? Maybe you just target a single segment, right? Maybe again, to your point, maybe it's the early adopter. What does that early adopter need? What's the messages that are compelling to them? What functionality do they want in the product? That may be the whole product that we have out there. What are the delivery channels that get us there, right? And test and evolve and expand that over time,
Right. And
right?
Kenny, we have a question. Maybe we should address
Oh,
this
okay,
before we
yeah,
go up.
sure.
So our question is, they would like our perspective on how go-to-market approach may differ from net new product launches versus a relaunch of an existing product. I'm interested for your take. I have some thoughts, but I want to hear
Yeah,
from you.
it does. I mean, the key thought is that um, is how much history is out there, right? If you're relaunching existing product, there's a
Mm,
certain scenario, there's a certain perception that you've got a position that you're working off, and you may need to evolve that over time. Whereas, but you've got customers who are at least familiar with it, right? So who you message, how you message, current customers become an understanding. You need to understand what the scenario is for current customers, how they're using it, and how they're evaluating your product, and seeing how to adjust that. Versus the net new, hey, suddenly awareness becomes real. Who are the base customers? What's the awareness? You don't have any history. You've got to go define that history. You got to define what the product is for those, what the use case is, what the scenarios is, why they might evolve it, what are they using to solve that today, and reflect off that.
hmm Yeah, Kenny, I completely agree with you. I think relaunch can be triggered by a number of factors, and I think it's important to understand that context of why. What are we doing? Is relaunch required because our strategy has changed? Is a relaunch required because something went awry in our planning and execution? Like what's happening? But as far as our go-to-market approach, for us and how we go about it, There's actually not too much difference. Maybe for the new, like Kenny was saying, I agree that a little more rigor might be needed because you don't have there's you don't want to make too many assumptions. You don't have information to fall back on. So therefore, you're upfront on collecting information, trying to refine and understand and validate that early customer profile is a little more important. Where a relaunch, um, you might have some inherent knowledge that you can apply to leverage and bake that into what you're going to do next relative to your go-to-market strategy.
Right. Yeah, excellent point. All right. Last point I want to just sort of cover here, right, is how we start to adapt that go-to-market to some of the changing conditions we see out there, right? And a lot of times I think about those standard sort of 4 Ps of marketing, right? Product, price, promotion, and place. And what can I do to enhance and evolve these from that iterative perspective, right? And a couple of things to do around that, right, is stay focused on the customer, right? Continuously collect and analyze feedback from them, right? And start to build that feedback loops into your go-to-market process, right? Using things like surveys, interviews, usage analytics, the pirate metrics we just talked about, right? Start to understand what messages are resonating with customers, right? How is that promotion working? How are customers reacting to my pricing, right? Which promotional activities are driving customer engagement, which aren't, right? And you start to break things down into sort of more manageable pieces, right? Start to tackle those go-to-market challenges in some of those basic pieces, right? Start to prioritize quick wins, keep testing assumptions around there, right? That iteration starts to help you respond to some of the changing market conditions. What small changes in the component of my marketing mix can I adjust to enhance customer response, right? Test a different price with a small segment of potential customers, right? Is there a market I can test iterations in my promotional or distribution strategy? Is there a small iteration in my product that I can start to maybe do an A/B test with some customers, right?
Yeah, and
Uh,
promotion and placement too, Kenny. I just want to mention there are these I call them go-to-market motions. The way is it outbound? Is it inbound? Is it product-led? Is it partner-led? What are we doing? We have opportunity while even the product is in life, and we may have been successful with a particular path. But maybe there's an audience that we want to get into next, and our promotion and placement needs to be tailored
Adjusted
to
for this.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our
Yeah.
motion might need to adapt to that as well.
Yeah.
So, Kenny, when do go-to-market activities stop?
They don't,
They
right?
don't.
Yeah, right. You keep going, right?
You,
Even, it might be the market starts to drift, evolve, right? The
yeah,
market changes, the competitors change. Your go-to-market strategy needs to be dynamic and continually evolving, right? Customers and markets, they're not static, right? Are my competitors reacting to my, that net new, right? Or I just introduced a product into the market. Competitors might be reacting to that product introduction. Maybe they changed their price. Maybe they enhanced their product. Maybe they did a specific promotion for me. Maybe they put their product through new distribution channels as a result thereof. What do I need to do in response? If anything, maybe stay on the course and I'm okay, but let's make sure
yeah.
that we understand that.
And I want to give honorable mention because he's here. So, friend of Productside, and Kenny and I both, David Nash is here, where he said, drifting is cool when you're in a car and your tires are smoking, or if you're in a pool with a cool drink in your hand. But it is not good when you are experiencing it in the product market capacity. You
It'll be
don't,
fine. You just need to react to it.
you just need to react. It's
Right?
all about the response, and your go to market is part of that response on how we need to do our thing.
Competitors and markets, they don't stay the same. And if you've introduced a new product or you started to lay out a new go-to-market, you're going to have an impact on that. So you need to react and adjust to it.
Hmm.
All right, before we end, one final poll I have. So where do you think you have the most opportunity to improve your go-to market strategies? Right? Is it about analyzing markets, validating product market fit, prioritizing those opportunities with segmentation, making sure the teams are there for my strategy, or making sure I really understand customer needs and pain points?
And I'll remind everybody while you're answering the polls, please do, if you have any other questions, we've got an opportunity to answer those for you. Please put them in the QA and we'll be sure to address those in our remaining time.
Right, we've got about, give it another 5 or 10 seconds for people to jump in here and figure out what their key challenges are going forward, where they have opportunities to improve. And hopefully they learn something in here to help them get there.
Mm-hmm.
What's your biggest opportunity for improvement, Ryan?
Stakeholder management, I'm gonna say,
Yeah, it
Kenny.
always is.
Yeah.
That's mine
Uh,
too. How do
Mine
I get
too.
everybody to row in the same direction?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll and share it so people can see what the results are. Here we go. Looks like we had a lot of people, some people who had stakeholder issues, but it was sort of spread across
Ah.
validating a product market fit, right, through research. How do I really understand what my customers want and what success looks like for them, right? And then using that to figure out what the right segments are, getting everybody to buy into it, and then what are the needs and pain points. So it's spread across. So lots of challenges and opportunities for us going forward.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll stop that sharing. And a couple of things to share on before we close out.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things, and then we've got a few more questions to answer as we go along, but we do want to let everybody here know that we have some special offers. So before we wrap up, please know we've got our free tool available for you. And yes, I said free. Who doesn't like free? So you can go take the team assessment. Please do scan the code or visit our website and take the team assessment. And it's going to give you a full report and tell you where you and your team have opportunities for improvement. It's going to expose those for you. It's very easy to get started, and it's going to allow you to start the new year with all kinds of confidence. So
And
please
we got a
go.
special deal for folks. If you take an assessment, you'll be entered to win a $25 gift card. So
That's
just a small
right.
thank you for investing in your team's growth.
Yeah, come and take it, and you might win. So thank you, Kenny. All right. So next slide, please.
And coming attractions, right?
Yeah, coming attractions. So we have another webinar coming up in 2 weeks. So this one, we're talking about how to write great outcome statements. So a last minute change. You see Rena's face there. I will be taking her place. So Tom and I will be partnered together on doing that one. And our goal is to provide you some actionable insights on how to craft and really focus on outcomes that drive impact. So that's what we're doing there. We'd love to see you come and join us for that great webinar that we have on the docket. And
And
finally,
then,
yeah, finally, we've got a special offer for all of you. See the code in blue at the top. So please do take advantage of a special 10% discount that we're making available to everyone here. Use that code that's there and feel free to register for any one of our upcoming courses. We've got lots of cool stuff coming and we'd love to see you in one of our engagements with all of our great trainers. You can see Kenny
yeah,
is
my face is posting on popping up on a couple of those coming up, right?
yeah,
So if
absolutely.
you want to see me again in early February, early March, jump on board. We'll go into depth on this topic as well as tons of others to complete your product management training.
Yep. All right. So what do you say, Kenny? Let's answer some
Let's
questions
answer some
that we
questions.
have.
Good.
All
All
right.
right.
So somebody asked, oh, they missed what is market drift? And sorry if they missed the explanation. That's okay. Let's explain quickly. Market drift is think about it this way. Nothing ever stands still. Think about your market, your customer, your competition, technology. Everything is moving around your product. Everything. And as soon as you have like found the center point of product market fit, it's like a boat that doesn't have an anchor. It starts to move away from that center point. And what you need to do is stay current, keep iterating, and understand where is it drifting to and how can I adapt myself, my product, my strategy planning and execution to stay current and successful and growing. Like how do we scale this thing appropriately? Because
Yeah,
nothing ever stays still.
It's why we need to iterate, right? Stuff happens.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right, Kenny. So here's another good one.
Good.
What are some common mistakes that product managers make when they are developing go-to-market strategies specifically? What do you see out there, and how would you suggest?
Uh, the biggest thing I see is you're developing your go-to-market strategy based on customer requirements. I mean, based on business requirements and not customer requirements. Right? You
Mm,
need to understand what the business requirements are, but your go-to-market should be driven by who are my customers and what do they need to achieve and how do I communicate value to them. A lot of
mhm.
times they see, hey, we need to increase revenue by 10%, so let's just go do this and make it happen. Doesn't necessarily drive a good go-to-market.
Yeah, I think one of the big ones I see is starting your go-to-market activities too late. So we're kind of either maybe miss the strategy element up front and we're starting with the planning and execution and we're starting a little too late. So our stakeholders are left a little confused. We're missing some of that alignment and the focus on that those outcomes, results, and impacts that we want to see from running that program. So, David, thank you. You put a comment in here. Another common go-to-market gap is understanding and addressing the needs of your channel partners. Yes. So, they're a big part of the equation. And that's where understanding that go-to-market motion can be really important. So, how are we reaching those customers in the end? How do we get their attention, interest, and make sure they can get their hands on our product as friction-free as possible? So, don't leave your partners as an afterthought.
And your partner should understand your positioning and messaging strategy. I see a lot of folks
Exactly.
that like, hey, we've got a great way to talk about our product, but we don't share that with our channel partners in the right way. And suddenly your channel partners are essentially positioning a different product than you created. And suddenly you have misalignment between what customers are getting or how they might be getting it through your channel and what you see as the needs of your product and needs of your customers. So include them in your communications.
Absolutely. I think that's a great tip. All right. Another question we have, Kenny, is do we have any recommendations on frameworks or tools that can be used to help drive that stakeholder management piece or cross-functional alignment? Is there any recommendations or tips you have for doing that better?
And there's a couple of things. One is understand who are the key stakeholders. I mean, understand the importance and evaluation of the stakeholders, right? Who are the important stakeholders? As David Nash put out there, their channel partners are probably a very important stakeholder. You probably want to communicate with them early and often, right?
Hmm.
And make sure that they understand those elements, that you communicate those elements to the right folks. Make sure that there's agreement behind it for those people that need to agree to it, those people who have influence over your product. But those that are impacted by it, make sure they understand it.
Hmm. Yeah, and one thing, this isn't a true like template or something like that, but what I would tell you is your job first and foremost, because doing any go to market, you often feel like a project manager with a J. I know we want to rally against that, but you do. I mean, you are kind of driving a project when you're getting, especially as you're getting closer to launch. But you should never lose sight of who you are serving and why you are serving them. That's why that strategy piece is so important. So always remind those who are willing to listen, any stakeholder, what we are trying to achieve here. Who is this product for and why we are going after them? It's really, really important. Okay, Kenny, we got one more question I think we can
Yeah,
fit in.
I think we have time for that. Yeah, we definitely
Yep.
do.
So we have, should component manufacturers take an active role in developing go-to-market strategies for their customers, or is this approach diverting valuable time and resources from our core competency? That's an interesting question.
That's fascinating. Yes. So part of it is it depends, right? If you're developing components, you need to understand where your components fit, right? And what are the over where do those components go in, right? And how does your component add value to the whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to start to build go-to-market strategies for your component and who are the customers that are buying the whole and where does it fit and how does it fit?
Yeah, and I got to go back. David gets honorable mention a lot here, but David used to work for Intel. I always think of I see a laptop and every single one of them has a sticker on it, particularly the PCs where it says there's an Intel inside. And that's a component of the system. But Intel has trying to promote that perception. There we go, positioning. They're trying to help smooth that buying decision process in the right go-to-market motion for these Lenovo's of Dell's and HP's of the world. So it depends on the context. But I also think about, what about the button manufacturer on my laptop, the person who makes the plastic button? They're not doing the same thing. So I think you need to understand the kind of the context and how you approach that, what that relationship looks like with your vendor, and even what it means, what value your component provides to that end user. Is it very high value, or is it more commoditized perhaps? So
Yeah, no, you need to understand the overall market that your component fits in.
yeah.
Not only Amazon, I also worked at Microsoft for a while, right? And our key goal back in the early 2000s was a PC on every desktop and in every home, right? It wasn't
Right.
about, it wasn't sell a whole bunch load of software. That was a result thereof, but it was a piece. So we did a lot to just support the overall PC ecosystem. Worked with Intel to help them support the Dells and the Acers and the Sonys and the
Mm.
IBMs at the time, or Lenovo's later on. So yeah, and a key understanding is what's the value of that PC. Because it helped build our business. So don't forget
Yeah,
about that
so
piece.
absolutely. So in those cases, I can't let it be without emphasizing, know your brand and your reputation. Know the strength of your inherent brand reputation and that perception, the weight you carry, as well as the assembly, or whatever we call it, the high level assembly that your component is going into, and its brand perception and everything. And look for um that common overlap between, okay, this is this is what our component is doing. How do we want these people to think of us? Is it helping us in a particular way? Does it help our partner in a particular way? And you'll be more successful as a result. Really interesting question.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Kenny. Well, I think that does it. And for
Thank
here, let's close out. So, everybody, we cannot thank you enough for joining us today for our webinar on go to market. Look for the email from us with the recording. Otherwise, we can't wait to see you back in a future webinar or in another capacity with Productside.
Thanks,
So, thank you,
Ryan. Thanks,
everybody.
everybody, for attending, and enjoy and have a great rest of the week.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.